Welcome to Franchise Focus. I'm Laura Blackmore, your host, and a franchise consultant with over a decade experience in franchising. Franchising isn't one size fits all, and this podcast helps focus on what truly matters. Each week, we pull back the curtain with top industry experts, whether you're exploring your first franchise or expanding your portfolio. Let's dive in. So hello, today we welcome Kimber Montgomery to Franchise Focus Podcast. Kimber is the VP of Franchise Development for ResiBrands. And Rezzi has grown from one franchise starting with that one painter to 5 brands now. And what I love about that, their motto is we believe in the power of a place called home. And we're going to discuss why that matters in franchising. So welcome, Kimber. Can you give a little background about yourself and how you got involved with Rezzi?
Well, thank you, Laura. It's a blessing to be here. It's fun to see you. I got started in franchising because I used to be in real estate, and my son Steven used to paint for my clients while he was in college. And then he dropped out of college and started painting full time. That was in 2011. And from 2011 to 2021, he just really grew his business here in Austin, became the largest residential painter in Austin, Texas. And at that point, he decided to franchise. And so one day I got a call from him and he said, "Hey, Mom, you know how you like to brag on me?" I said, "Yes." He said, "How would you like to get paid for it?" And that was literally how he pitched me to come work for him. And I came over to franchise sales June of 23. Been here ever since, helping to grow the brand.
I remember getting that initial call from you just to start talking about Steven's success and that one painter. And it was a new brand, and sometimes as a franchise broker, such as myself, you get these calls and you're like, well, but I don't know, something, I knew there was going to be something special. It was just obvious what you had, what Steven had, the whole focus, the mission, the success that he'd already developed, right? And you got to be able to replicate that. But I have to admit, it blows my mind where he's grown this too. And we've talked over the years about his success and whatnot, but you must be so proud. And then what a huge help you and have been to help with that growth. Did he always know he wanted to get into franchising or?
No, not at all. He kind of was one of those high school students that just didn't know what he wanted to do. Then when he was a junior, he really realized that he wanted to go into ministry. So he went to Bible school.
Yeah.
And that's what he dropped out of when he decided to paint full time. And when he decided to paint full time, it wasn't for a passion of anything other than he didn't want to work for someone else. He wanted to work for himself.
He just knew.
And control his own destiny. And his dad and I, when he told us he wanted to drop out of school and paint, I think he was rather surprised by our reaction. And our reaction was, "Here, read these 2 books and then come back to us." In other words, we were asking him to put a bit more thought and research into it.
Right.
And I always knew that whatever this kid did, he'd be successful at.
Yeah,
Just very smart, very energetic, very much a leader from
Okay.
very young age on.
Okay.
So I always knew he's going somewhere. But when he named the company, he had gotten started, got his little business card that said Steven's Painting and his phone number, and he was working on branding, and he came popping into my office at home. And he said, "Hey, Mom, I'm going to name the company. I'm going to name it That One Painter." And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Because I'm that one kid nobody remembers. They just refer me to that guy that paints." And he goes, "I can tell you don't like it." I said, "The reason I don't is I want you to picture yourself at 40 years old with the largest painting company in Austin, Texas." And I knew it then, but and he said, I said, "And you want it to be called That One Painter?" And he thought about it for about 30 seconds and he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "It'll always tell my story." So here we are. Now I always tell his story. He now says that looking back, he doesn't think he was very creative. He thinks he was watching that 70s show and that influenced. Here we go. So I knew he'd be successful, but in no way at that time did he or I dream of franchising.
Right.
It was not something we thought about.
And do you know off the top of your head how many locations you're at with that one painter?
465?
Wow, I didn't even know that.
No, I misquoted. 458. 58.
That's amazing. And there's room for more, right? And then So after uh, developing that one painter, he went on to acquire Pink's Window Service. Was that 23 or?
Yeah. So he
Okay.
started franchising in June of 21, just that one painter. In 22, he formed Rezzi Brands. Rezzi said he knew that he wanted to bring other brands in. And he had also started launching Garage Up, which was our second brand. Garage Up is a garage renovation company. And he started looking for other brands to add, and Pink's Window Services was the first one we added. So
Okay.
that was added in the fall of 23. And to date, we're at, with what we have in legal, we're at about 203 territories sold. Once again, exponential growth for Pink's. So that's been really fun. And Pink's is
Wow.
Window Services, a window cleaning company.
Right. Thank you for bringing that up. And what I find so amazing about these different brands and that one painter, and we can get into more about market opportunities, but um, is is the level of support that Resi Corporate provides. I mean, from I've heard from people I've placed, I mean, getting leads is not a challenge at all. So the marketing is unbelievable, coaching, the technology, the buying, the refining the process, and making sure franchisees are successful. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know. So you start out with a
Hmm.
system and you're, I believe, always perfecting that system and always growing. And the one thing that I think at Resi Brands that we do very well is really listen to our franchisees. But we also understand our role. And our role, we've simplified it. Our role as the franchisor. We've narrowed it down to 5 things, and we focus and put all of our energies into those 5 things each day. And with those 5 things is how our franchisees have great success. So we focus on culture, training, coaching, marketing, and continued support. Within that sounds so simple, but within that, there's many facets to it. And so our franchisees are being given a culture that is a place where we're known for our culture of excellence and kindness.
Okay.
What that means is we demand and expect excellence of ourselves, but we always request or require it with kindness. And that goes from here at corporate to each other, to the franchisees among themselves, and
Right.
then to subcontractors or employees. And
Wonderful.
Stephen built this entire system with one thought in mind. If I make the painter happy, the guy on the ladder,
Right.
that makes the project manager happy. That makes the homeowner happy, which in turn makes the franchisee or salesperson happy. And then in turn, all the way back up to him. And keeping that in mind and always keeping it from the laborer forward, I think is a big part of our culture that we sometimes neglect to talk about. And then the other thing is within our culture, we have a give back program for every one of our companies. This spring, next week, in fact, we're very, very excited because we are with painting, we call it Paint It Forward.
Yep.
And we are going to paint 100 homes across the United States next week. It's
Wow.
$1 million give back. Our franchisees are providing the labor.
Yep.
Sherwin-Williams provides the paint. And we ask our communities to nominate folks. And usually it's someone in need of some sort, whether it's an elderly couple or a veteran or a single mom or
Yep.
just there's a story attached to a family. I saw a little clip the other day as a family with a child that is sickly. And
Yeah.
so, all their money goes towards that. So we are going to do 100 projects next week. It's going to be really exciting. And it's just amazing how our franchisees have bought into this and also want to be part of that. And that's because we take a lot of time as we interview candidates to really talk about culture because culture is paramount to us. And we're looking for people who want to be part of that and want to feel responsible for their community and give back in that way. And it's not an FAA requirement, a franchise agreement
Right.
requirement. It is just the type of people we want to be awarded franchises.
And I think that's so critical. I mean, we're seeing that, across the franchises that I see that are really growing, but they can support that growth and do talk about culture and really mean it and want to make sure their franchisees successful. I mean, I just see those franchises grow, and great words come about it, and people are happy, and people are buying more units and whatnot. And I think that's got to be a key to success. I imagine it's hard for some people to do if they haven't done that before, built a culture. So is there any suggestions or help that you guys do to help them with that, to really be able to focus on that painter and then all the way up? Or is it something they really need to?
It's really taking, I think we take longer to put someone through the process as far as not steps, but we spend quite a bit of time on a call, face to face on calls. We do that in the group setting at first, and then we do several individual calls. And we really try to get to know them as people. We don't
Yeah,
always hit it right. Sometimes
sure.
there's been people that really don't fit the culture after they've purchased. And honestly, they either become part of the culture or they don't. So we can't force them to. But the culture, when you are receiving excellence and kindness, it's much easier for you to give excellence and kindness. And that's how we view it, as it's our job from the franchisor down, all the way down to the employee. And in Pink's, Brandon Carter's such examples of really treating their employees with excellence and kindness, and painting a picture from the lowest technician to how they can grow in the company, so that this isn't just a starter job for them. And the job, they have very low turnover rates, which is
Wow.
imperative for a high bottom line.
Right.
Turnover costs money, and they buy their technicians lunch every single day. That's not a requirement, but their bottom line's great. And if I was buying a Pink's franchise, I'd just emulate what they did, because they've got fantastic numbers to go with it.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And you're keeping them there. You're keeping them on the job. You're keeping them happy. I imagine next week when you do the Paint It Forward too, there's going to be some amazing stories, and it's
Yeah.
very rewarding, right? When you're able to give back to the community, and I mean that's going to be huge. I'll be excited to see
Yeah.
that.
I spoke with Steven last night, and he said he's very excited because he's going to travel to about 4 different places, and
Wonderful.
they're going to video things. So he goes next week's going to be really fun.
That's fantastic. And so he always knew he wanted to, once he started the franchising, expand out. So just trying to find the right businesses that fit in. He started some too. You mentioned though, like I think.
Yeah. So Garage Up, he and his business partner founded Garage Up.
Okay.
We acquired Pink's and partnered with them. And then Action Exteriors is our fourth brand. Action is a company that was founded in 2005 right here in the Austin
In
area
the Austin area.
by the
Okay.
Samola family. And it is roof, gutters, siding, and windows. So we're taking that. Right now, we just got our item 19 yesterday or a couple days ago, and we're going to open up in 13 states to start with, and then continue from there. And then our fifth brand is in-house, built here and by Stephen and Jay Nielsen, and it is Monty's Handyman Service. And Monty's got launched this past summer, here
Okay.
in Austin, and is growing very well. And so that'll be released for franchising later this year.
Now, are the models similar in terms of how they use labor, or how are there differences?
Yeah, the two that are most alike would be that one painter and the roofing, and
Okay.
that primarily it's subcontractors. In those two industries, subcontractors are subcontractors by choice, and they're really good at what they do, but they don't want to do all the business side of it. So they come in, they paint, they go on to the next job. Same with roofing. In our other models, Pink's is an employee model. You really don't find window washing subcontractors out there. Window cleaning is something you can teach someone very quickly.
Hmm.
And so the employee model works there. And then Garage Up is a combination. You will have an employee, then you also will subcontract
Okay.
things like electrical that's above what you can do, or framing or something that's above what the employees can do. So it'll be a combination there. But so they're all, it's really about the industry. Each industry is different, whether there's subcontractors available or not.
Gotcha. Okay. And in terms of getting those subcontractors, I again talking to the franchise that someone I placed, and he said that was also not a challenge at all with the relationships. Finding good managers was his challenge, but but finding the painters wasn't a problem. Once they start using painters, do they tend to keep those like permanently busy, or how does that work?
Yeah, Stephen here in Austin, his crew, they keep about 15 teams busy throughout the year. And it might go down to like 12 in the winter and then up in the summer. But once you establish uh, painting crews that you like to work with, or working crews that you like to work with, they become very loyal.
Hmm.
Subcontractors, they don't have a whole laundry list of things they would like. It's
Okay.
very simple. They
Yeah.
would like to be kept busy, they would like to be treated fairly, and
Hmm.
they would like to be paid on time. But it's very rare for them to find all three of those with one contractor. It's kind of a sad plight of our nation that subcontractors get treated not very well at all. And you even hear comedians joke about it, which we don't find it funny. Without them, we don't have a lot. I mean,
Right.
I can, but I will get paint on things that shouldn't have that color on it.
Me too.
And, and that is why they're so skilled and talented at what they do. And so we keep them busy. We treat them fairly. Paint's messy. It's one of the only liquid trades outside of plumbing, and it's just plain messy.
Yeah.
Things happen, but it's how you treat them when things happen with excellence and kindness. Kindness, demanding excellence and expecting excellence. And then, thirdly, if they have finished the work and the homeowner and the project manager have signed off, they deserve to be paid. So, our franchisees pay their subcontractors every Friday, 1 week retroactive to help with their cash flow. But it's definitely, when you do that, you garner the loyalty and the respect and the business of some of the best in the business. And so you really develop a strong relationship with them, your project managers, and they, or if you're the owner doing the operations, you develop a very strong relationship with your subcontractors. And the homeowners don't know they're not your employees. They have no reason to know that, not know that.
Right.
I'm hiding it, but you just develop such a relationship. They feel like part of the team and are
Right.
part of the team.
So, and Stephen, when he started that one painter, it was all grassroots, right? He went out and connected with realtors and property managers. How
Yeah.
much now, when someone starts that one painter, what's kind of the mix of their marketing plan, and how much are they doing grassroots versus?
The ultimate goal for that one painter is that you will have 50% of your business coming from the marketing and 50% of your business coming from what we call grassroots marketing. Grassroots marketing has 5 tenets. It's realtors and property managers. It is relationships. So anybody you know, whether it's
Hmm.
your softball team to the people you go to church with, to people you work with, it is clients and their referrals. And so when you're working hard to get those 5-star reviews and build those relationships, and you build a relationship, say, with a realtor, this realtors 6 or 7 times out of 10 refer a painter to a homeowner. That's how
Right.
often homes get painted when the trade of the ownership happens. And so, building a network of 100 or 50 realtors that know your name, and when
Hmm.
they think, "I need a painter," they think of you, is vital to the growth of your business. So in a healthy, territory, your first year, you're gonna rely more on the marketing,
Okay.
obviously, because you don't have past clients, you're building those relationships. But it's and we have a whole training series and coaching series on how to get those relationships. It's not about calling a realtor and going, "Hey, I'm the new painter in town." It's about bringing value to that realtor
Okay.
enough times that when they think paint, they think you. And we've got a myriad of ways for you to do that. And the people that are following that system, the reason you want to do that is ads are fickle. Marketing is like riding a stormy wave on a surfboard or a
Hmm.
canoe.
For sure.
Referral partners, when they refer someone, it comes with the referral, which is already great. It also comes with maybe price already having been discussed, like I paid,
Yeah.
like they might, like you tell your neighbor, he wasn't the cheapest guy, but my goodness, they were so clean and tidy and really understood my needs. You already know that. And so there's less pushback on pricing. And also, it's just a higher close rate because it came with the referral. And there's no cost to that ad.
That's
There's
right.
simple relationship value. And so it really helps your bottom line. And when you get to that 50-50, that's where
Okay.
it's really
Where
healthy
they
and
saw.
balanced.
Okay. Okay. And then in terms of when you and then you may not have a dream one, but like an ideal franchisee when you're having these calls with them and you're trying to really get to know them. What are some of the key traits that turn out to be the successful owners?
I was just asked that here just a few minutes ago with a candidate. And I loved his question because from the first time I spoke with him, I was excited about this candidate. And it's because he told me, I already envisioned myself doing this, this, and this. And so seeing yourself in the role, seeing yourself in your community, and then taking full ownership on it. And then the other thing is a keen sense of detail. Just running a business, you need to be detail oriented. But bottom line, I I always say this, you need someone who is willing to bet on themselves as much as they're willing to bet on ResiBrands, Peaks, that one paint or whatever. And when you find that person that is excited about building their own business, their own legacy, that's when it's a very perfect marriage because you get along and then the two of you build something together. And so when people are saying things like, I just want the ads to get me all of my leads, this is a red flag for us because if you don't understand the value of partnerships and referral business, it's really going to hurt your business. And I always joke and say, it's as if you were telling me, Mrs. McDonald, that I'm going to open up a McDonald's, but I personally don't like fries. So I will not be making any fries in my establishment. And then turn around and complain to me that you can't get enough people through the door. You're purchasing a system. You're paying a lot of hard-earned money for a system. Follow it in its entirety.
Correct.
And when I see people starting to take ownership of each piece and saying, or asking the further questions, what does that mean for me? What does that look like? And they're starting to see
And they're
themselves
starting to
in
pay.
the
Okay.
role,
Right.
then I get excited.
Right. Because we've been there where your initial conversations with someone, you're starting, I get candidates that are like, well, I just, I want all the business to come to me. And it's like, well, and I've heard you share this before. And it really helped me with my business is to be able to talk back with them on that, which is you've got to be able to bet on yourself. Are you willing to bet on yourself? And I have seen the light bulb kind of go off with people that maybe were more guarded and maybe they weren't that strong at the beginning. I only want business to come in, but and that has really helped the conversation to be able to open up and really talk about the brand has a playbook and they've got everything they could work, but you have to execute and you have to believe in yourself and to start seeing that, then I'm confident I have a good candidate for someone. But yeah,
I
that's helpful.
usually say somewhere along the way, I'll say this. Our job as a franchisor is to set you up for success, to give you every tool, everything you possibly can need to gain. It is your job as the franchisee to grab it and go out there and take it.
I love that.
And the people who are excited, they want to go out there and grab it. And they're on their next call with me going, oh my gosh, you told me to look at pain. Like I tell them, you're gonna curse me or bless me the rest of your days for this. But I want you on your drive home today. Notice how many homes, buildings, restaurants, whatever you see that need a paint job. And I'm telling you, you'll never stop seeing it the whole rest of your life. And if you buy in, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm glad she made me see the need for paint or dirty windows.
Right.
I one day want to meet the regional director for a certain pharmacy that I frequent because their drive-through windows have to be some of the dirtiest windows I have ever seen. And I've been going to the same pharmacy years and years and years. And all I can see are their dirty windows.
Yes.
And I keep wanting to meet that person and say, I've got a solution for you. And I can't unsee it. Now that I talk
No, you
about
can't.
this all the time, I can't unsee it.
Right.
And that's the same thing when you take a look around you. Because people always say, well, I don't know if my community would respond to it. And I'm like, there is not a structure you can look at that doesn't have paint on it somewhere. And it's not going anywhere.
That's right.
It doesn't matter if we invent a new surface, we will still be painting it.
Absolutely. And who doesn't love a fresh coat of paint? I mean, it makes everything look fantastic.
It's the cheapest way to make per square foot or per square inch or whatever you want to call it, to make a dramatic change on your home. So that's why a lot of people do it. Is
Hmm.
because, selling real estate, you tell your seller, you got to neutralize these colors. And then the second you bring the buyer back in, they're like, oh, it's all brown, or oh, it's all white, or oh, it's all gray. An accent wall would look so great right there. And it's what we do because we want to make our own mark and we want to be able to feel like it belongs to us. And so there's luxury painting and there's necessity painting. If you
Well,
let your
sure.
house go too long without painting, the HOA will force you to paint it.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so, but there's a lot of luxury painting. My home office, I've painted probably 2 or 3 colors. I'm still not happy, but I'm living with it.
Right. No, no, absolutely. So we talked about the mindset of the franchisee. That's really helpful. When someone comes on, what is their best way to, and maybe we kind of hit on some of this, to have that strong start? Like, what's the onboarding, the training? What's the timeline for that, maybe, so they can get something in their mind, and then
Sign their documents and send their wire to the day they launch is approximately 90 days.
90 days. Okay.
It can be a little less, but it depends on the brand. But 90 days roughly. But as soon as their wire hits the market and all the papers are signed, then they get a welcome call. And on that welcome call, they're introduced to 2 people. They're introduced to their onboarding specialist and they're introduced to their launch coach. So the onboarding specialist is going to give them the list of things they need to do to get launched. So like open up a bank account, order some business cards, all the minutia, right? And they have them in order, on track. They set your training date and they reverse engineer
Gotcha.
your calendar, right? Your launch coach is then coaching you towards that success. So you're going to start reaching out to realtors, lining up painters
That's what
or
I'm.
hiring
Okay.
technicians, depends on what you're doing. And they're going to keep you on track for the timeline. And
Okay.
then you culminate, with all of our brands, you have anywhere from about 70 to 90 hours online training. And then you culminate with 5 days in Austin.
Okay.
That those 5 days in Austin is we want to see that be 1 to 2 weeks prior to launch. So right before you launch, because it's extremely practical how to use the CRM to put in an estimate, to how to invoice a client at the very nitty gritty. And it's also a lot of sales training because it doesn't matter what you're in. If you don't have someone who can sell and close that job, you don't have a whole lot. And so there's a lot of sales training. So if you are one that has more than one territory and you have managers, you're going to bring them to the training also. So they're ready to go out and then it's boots on the ground and off to the races. But the exciting thing is this morning, my assistant popped in and she said, a gentleman that just placed with you, it was August. He purchased 3 territories. He's reaching out because he wants to add another territory. So I
Oh,
got off the phone with him a little while ago and he's like, I said, well, it must be going well.
yeah.
And he was just so excited. He goes, not that we thought it would be super hard, but it has just been smooth sailing. All the
Wow.
training, all the onboarding, everything was there. He said, and he told me, he goes, I am having the most fun I've ever had. So I
Oh my
love
gosh. That's
it.
fantastic.
And
Yeah.
he's approved to add another territory, and that's our ultimate goal at Rezzi. Steven says it this way. He'll say, Laura, I don't want you to be successful. I want you to be wildly successful.
Yeah.
And I want to do that together. And wildly successful looks different to different people,
Hmm.
but ultimately our goal is to help you scale. Your success should bring more success. And so we allow brand stacking. We allow adding more territory if you're successfully handling the ones you have and you want to add more. And it is a very, very, in the last, since the beginning of the year till now, I believe, don't quote me on this number, but I believe it's 20 franchisees have added territory
Fantastic.
every day.
And
Something.
are they typically able to in contiguous areas where they are, or they
Yeah,
find?
it depends on the brand and depends like what he told me. And he told me when I got that this morning, I quick looked and there was a couple territories still left.
Wow.
And one of them is right beside him. So that worked out. If not, let's say everything's gone. I had this poor young kid. He bought 1 territory. He called me super excited. I'm ready for my second one, 8 months in. He goes, and he was very proud of himself. He was very young, like 23 or something when his mom and dad launched his first one, helped him out
Wow.
financially. And he said, I have saved up the money to buy my second territory. Somebody had come in, it's our largest franchisee, and they had bought 25, left him all alone in a little island. There's nothing there for him. So the agreement is that he just puts his head down, gets to his first year, and then most likely he'll stack another brand right there.
Okay.
And he's super excited. He loves the managers of the other owner and gets along with them. But I wasn't able to help him, but we will help him continue to grow.
Yep. Awesome. And when you talk about like the growth of, well, that one painter now is that the largest franchise,
Yeah,
painting
25
franchise?
territories is our current largest. And we have several that are around 14, 16, 17, and then a single territory also.
But I know, I mean, that one painter compared to all other painting franchises, they're now the largest in terms of number of owners, right?
Territory to territory, yes, we are the largest in the nation, which was a very exciting moment.
And you have room though, still more, right? Because there's just
We're at 458 territories. We have 1,200 territories across America, and so we got plenty. We got plenty of growth.
yep, yep. Um, Tell me a little bit about are you still doing coaching with John Maxwell? Or I know there's some others
Yes,
focused.
yeah.
How's that get
We have
incorporated?
Yeah, we call it our master class, and it's
Okay.
a once a month video, not video, but like a Zoom call where
Yeah.
everybody hops on. All the franchisees and their managers and us at ResiBrands here, we joined that call. John Maxwell has spoken at our last two conventions, and he's slated to speak at this next one. He brings a personalized to Rezzi Brands lesson each month. And if you don't know who John Maxwell is, he is the
Thank you.
world's leader on leadership training.
Yeah.
He has 50,000 coaches that teach his methods. He coaches business owners and NFL coaches,
Yeah.
coaches. He's very well known as far as business and leadership coaching, and he's our mentor and masterclass teacher right now. So we have a once a month class with him, and every time we listen to him, I take tons and tons of notes. One
I
thing he
can.
said in our last call, and I'll be quoting this for the rest of my life. He said, no one has ever quit themselves to success. And I'm like, that is so very true. Quitting does not bring you the success you want. It's powering through when it got hard.
That's exactly it. That's it. Yeah. And having that grit is part of it. I try to tell people that, that first year, there's going to be things that happen. And it's being prepared to be able to handle that and having the grit to move forward. And then there could be some great successes, but there's going to be challenges no matter how simple the model is. Yeah.
The beauty of franchising is you're not alone. You
Right.
have franchisees, you have coaches, you have franchisors. And when you're an entrepreneur, sole entrepreneur,
You are
Stephen was
right.
for a lot of years, and he says it's one of the loneliest places he ever existed because he didn't have anyone else walking his walk. And I love to watch our franchisees arrive at the convention. I do it every year, stand in the lobby of this big old hotel and watch them arrive because they develop relationships together over
Right.
chat system, and they support each other, and they're on there all the time, cheering each other on, answering questions for one another. And it's so fun to watch a franchisee from Boise, Idaho, see the franchisee from Florida, and they're so excited to meet in person.
Right.
It's and they develop really strong relationships. That's the beauty of franchising, is you aren't completely alone.
Right. How do they create their own goals, their financial goals? Do you work with them on that?
Yeah, they'll sit down with their coaches and they will, set goals for the year, and then everything's reverse engineered. Okay, so what does that mean? What do we got to do? Bottom line for both Pinks and That One Painter and Action, all three, and Garage Up. For That One Painter, you need 2 estimates a day per territory. If you get 2 estimates a day, 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year, you'll be successful. For Pinks, it's 3 estimates a day. They have a
Okay.
smaller job ticket.
Yeah.
And Garage Up, it's two, and then Action is also two, I believe. And so it's just pretty simple. So how do you do that? That's where the coaching comes into play. The coaching is like, oh, marketing provided you 5 on Monday. That's fabulous. That does not mean Tuesday you have to get 0.
Right.
Tuesday, you still need two because that's just the mindset you need. And they have a list of all these suggested ways to get a estimate that isn't reliant on the marketing. And
Okay.
those who really are successful are doing that effectively every day.
Fantastic. Common mistakes that franchisees make when they start off?
Most common one is being too kind and making a personal decision versus a business decision and letting people who aren't up to snuff go. It's hiring is it's a guessing game, and you need to always be recruiting, and you need to be able to make a quick business decision. And if you let your heart get too wrapped up in their personal story, that's when it's hard. Because I've had a couple of franchisees call me, leave me a voicemail like, Kimber's going really hard. I don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. So I go in and I read their coaching notes before I call them back. Two in particular. One was 5 months, one was 4 months. Coach's advice: let so and so go, let so and so go, let so and so go every week, and they didn't do it. And I'm like, your coaches are telling you where your problem is. They're
Yes. Interesting.
saying his close rate is too low. If you can't get the close rate up, you can't survive this way. But I too have people under me, and it's hard to let someone
Yeah.
go. I get
Yeah.
that. It's you look them in the face and say thanks, but no thanks. But you have to realize that it does them no good for you not to be honest and fair.
Hmm.
And honest and fair is okay. And hiring is kind of like gambling, and you just got to keep playing till you get the right one.
Gotcha.
And
Excellent.
once you get the right managers, they usually are very loyal. They're usually killer, and you're off to the races, and they're just fabulous. And sometimes you get somebody who needs a little more training, but if they're receiving and accepting that training, they can get there quickly.
Yeah.
Steven and Alan and all the coaches, they can take somebody who knows nothing about window cleaning or nothing about paint or roofing or anything, and in 90 days have you able to close on the spot. But you got to follow their coaching, right? And if you don't, then you're not able to do it. But if you follow the coaching, closing on the spot will take your close rate from the mid 20s to the nearly 40%. So it's huge. It's a
Huge.
real secret to our success is getting our franchisees is keeping our estimating processes simplified enough that they can do that. That's one of the big strengths of ResiBrands.
Gotcha. How soon can somebody typically start adding like sales support and or where do they usually want to be in terms of sales?
For most of it, Pinks, you need two employees and in the van that clean the windows and one employee that does the sales and project management.
Okay.
For the others, you need one person per territory, that is the salesperson slash project manager, and
Okay.
then subcontractors, unless you're in the state of California, and then it changes. Per territory, so if you come in and you off the bat, you have 3 or 4 or 5, you're going to need one full-time employee minimum per territory.
Okay.
And you'll have a launch schedule. You don't necessarily launch all 5 territories into something. There'll be a launch schedule where you roll out those territories individually.
Okay, great. Well, this has been wonderful. Any other good advice you have for potential franchisees or people thinking about getting into franchising?
American people are very much waking up and realizing that home services is where you want to be at. You can hardly find a platform that doesn't talk about it. So the time is now,
Okay.
honestly.
The time
If
is
you wait
now.
10 years, you're going to miss out. Home services won't be what it was. We are definitely on the cusp of revolutionizing home services. We as an Americans, not just Resi Brands, but bringing professionalism and pride and dignity back to basic services. And this is the time to ride that wave.
Excellent. Excellent advice. Well, I appreciate this and thank you for your time today.
And I feel privileged to get to be here.